Approximately 13.8 billion years ago, an event occurred that we now call the Big Bang. In a single instant, the universe was born. Time, space, and matter all came into existence. The first elementary particles formed and gradually combined into atoms. From these, stars, galaxies, and planets emerged. And one of them was our own. From non-living matter, from atoms and molecules, something began to form over billions of years, something we now call life. But how exactly did this happen? How did lifeless matter become living matter? That's a question science has not yet definitively answered. And yet, there is a philosophical view that claims matter, and only matter, is the foundation of everything. This view is called materialism. Explaining materialism. Materialism is a philosophical standpoint which holds that everything that exists is made up of matter, or of fields and energies closely related to matter. Consciousness, thoughts, emotions, even life itself, all of these are, according to materialism, the result of physical processes occurring in matter. In other words, consciousness is brain activity. Thoughts are electrochemical reactions, and what we call the soul is just an illusion, a complex output of the physical brain. But is that really the case? Can everything truly be explained through matter alone? And if so, where are the limits of what materialism can explain? And where does the mystery begin, the part we still don't understand? The mystery of living matter. When we talk about living matter, we usually think of plants, animals, bacteria, things that breathe, grow, and reproduce. But where exactly is the line between the living and the non-living? What defines the moment when matter is no longer just a chemical structure, but becomes something that lives? According to modern biology, living matter is defined by certain characteristics: metabolism, the ability to reproduce, response to external stimuli, internal organization, such as cellular structure, growth, and development. These are the basic traits of life as we define them today. But how exactly do non-living molecules like water, carbon, nitrogen become something that can survive and reproduce on its own? This question leads scientists and philosophers to the theory of abiogenesis, the idea that life emerged spontaneously from non-living matter. According to this hypothesis, simple organic molecules formed on the early Earth and gradually combined into more complex structures, until one day, the first primitive cells appeared. Theories and questions. Origin of life. This idea dates back to the 1920s, when scientists like Alexander Oparin and J.B.S. Haldane proposed that the early Earth's atmosphere might have contained substances that allowed complex molecules, such as amino acids, to form spontaneously. Their theory inspired the famous Miller-Urey experiment in 1952, in which scientists simulated early Earth conditions and successfully created simple organic compounds. Problems and open questions. Although these experiments show that organic molecules can arise spontaneously, we still don't know how these molecules gave rise to the first cell, with a membrane, genetic information, and the ability to reproduce. That remains a mystery. We don't know the exact moment when chemistry became biology. Some scientists, like Paul Davies and Robert Hazen, suggest that understanding the origin of life may require a new scientific revolution, a completely new perspective on physics and chemistry. Others, such as philosopher Thomas Nagel, go even further. They argue that materialism may never be able to explain this transition at all. So, can matter truly explain the origin of life? Or is there something more to living matter, something we have yet to understand? From complex life to consciousness. Once complex life had emerged, evolution began to play with it. Over time, the first nervous systems developed. Animals started to react to their environment, to hunt, escape, defend themselves. Some even began to learn from experience. In higher mammals, such as dogs, dolphins, crows, or chimpanzees, we now know that they are capable of complex thought. They recognize their surroundings, have memory, emotions, and sometimes even a sense of fairness. Some animals even pass the so-called mirror test, meaning they recognize themselves, which indicates a form of self-awareness, the emergence of human consciousness. But in humans, something radically new appeared. We are not only aware of ourselves, we are aware that we are aware. We reflect on death, we create culture, philosophy, religion. We ask about the meaning of life. And all of this arises from a single organ, the brain. According to materialism, consciousness is merely the result of neural activity. What you experience as I is, in this view, just an illusion, the outcome of electric and chemical signals between billions of neurons. You are a product of the brain. Your thoughts are impulses, and the meaning of life, a biological mechanism for survival. This is the view held by many neuroscientists, such as Daniel Dennett, who argues that consciousness is nothing more than a computational operation in the brain. And yet, something about this still doesn't feel quite right. The mystery of consciousness, the hard problem. Physics can explain how particles move. Biology can explain how a cell survives. But consciousness? Consciousness is a different story. Consciousness is a subjective experience. No one knows how something as immaterial as the feeling of color, pain, fear, or love can arise from physical matter. This question was named by philosopher David Chalmers as the hard problem of consciousness. We're not just asking how the brain works. We're asking why it feels anything at all. Why isn't it just a dead machine acting intelligently, but experiencing nothing? Consciousness as a challenge to materialism. And this is where materialism begins to falter, because if subjective experience cannot be derived from physical laws, then maybe something is missing. Maybe consciousness isn't just a byproduct of matter. Maybe it's something fundamental, like time or space itself. Some philosophers and scientists are now exploring alternatives. Panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a property present in all matter. Or emergentism, the idea that consciousness arises only when a system reaches a certain level of complexity. But none of these theories has yet answered the most fundamental question. Why do we experience anything at all? Alternatives to materialism. Materialism is not without competition. The hard problem of consciousness is pushing some researchers toward new ways of thinking. And while these are still just theories, they suggest that matter might not be everything. Slower rhythm. One such theory is panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a basic feature of all matter, just like gravity or electromagnetism. Even an atom might possess a primitive form of awareness, incredibly simple yet present. Another theory, emergentism, suggests that consciousness does not exist everywhere, but emerges only when a system becomes sufficiently complex, like the human brain. According to this view, consciousness is like a wave. It arises only when there's enough water and energy. Other theories come from quantum physics, like the OR model by Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, which proposes that consciousness may be linked to quantum processes within microtubules in the brain. But even this theory remains speculative. Final reflection. Can materialism explain everything? So, can materialism explain everything? Pause. It has explained a lot. It has described the structure of the universe, the laws of nature, the composition of matter, the functioning of life. But when it comes to consciousness, to the experience of being, it begins to lose its footing. Maybe it's right. Maybe consciousness is just the result of chemistry and electricity. But what if it isn't? What if consciousness is the key to understanding a deeper reality, one that goes beyond matter? In the next video, we might explore another mystery. Does free will exist? If everything is just matter and physical laws? And if not, what does that mean for our lives? Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the most important things are not the answers, but the questions.